Commander Alara Voss peered through the viewport of the reconnaissance vessel Harbinger, her breath catching as the massive alien structure came into view. After 3 decades exploring the outer reaches of the Andromeda Arm, humanity had finally discovered conclusive evidence of advanced extraterrestrial life. But what they found chilled her to the core. "Magnify Sector 4, she ordered. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Casimir Reed, complied silently. The holographic display shimmered, revealing a procession of bipedal creatures being herded into transport vessels. Their movements were listless, their bodies adorned with metallic collars that pulsed with eerie blue light. "They're collecting them," whispered Dr. Nea Okafor, the xenoanthropologist. "Those aren't prisoners. They're inventory." The structure's architecture was unlike anything in human records. Obsidian spires twisted impossibly between massive crystalline domes. The beings controlling the facility moved with unsettling grace, their elongated limbs reminiscent of mantids. The crew had dubbed them Vespidi for their hive-like behavior patterns. Commander Voss's wristcom vibrated. "Priority transmission from Admiral Chandrasekhar," announced the ship's AI. The Admiral's weathered face materialized above her desk. "Voss, I've reviewed your findings. This confirms our worst fears. The Commonwealth has authorized Operation Broken Chain. You're to gather intelligence on their capabilities and weaknesses without detection." "Sir, we're talking about systematic exploitation of sentient species across multiple star systems," Voss replied. "How long has this been happening?" "Based on radiation dating of similar structures we've located, potentially thousands of years. Humanity escaped their notice only by virtue of our isolated position in the galactic arm." Casimir's console emitted a sharp ping. "Commander, we've intercepted communications. Translating now." The alien language filtered through the ship's systems, transforming into stilted English. "Acquisition complete in Sector 15. Resource yields optimal. Hunter-class Vespidi deployed to unexplored periphery region designated Zone 44C. Alara's blood ran cold. Zone 44C was the Commonwealth designation for Earth's neighboring systems. "They're coming our way," she whispered. "How long do we have?" Dr. Okafor studied the data stream with growing horror. "Based on their propulsion. Signatures? 3 Earth months, maybe less." Commander Voss straightened her shoulders. "Then we better work fast. The Commonwealth needs to know what we're up against, and these slavers need to learn that they've finally found prey that bites back." Deep within the Commonwealth's strategic command bunker on Luna, Admiral Chandrasekhar faced the assembled military leadership. The holographic display showing the Harbinger's findings cast an ominous blue glow across their grim faces. "The Vespidi operate on a model we haven't encountered before," Dr. Okafor explained via quantum link. "They don't conquer civilizations, they farm them." Colonel Raiden Ishikawa, head of special operations, leaned forward. "Farm them for what?" "Multiple purposes. Labor, certainly, but their primary value appears neurological. The captive species' brains are harvested for a substance the Vespidi call essence. It's apparently some form of psychoactive compound they consume." Fleet Admiral Vargas slammed his fist on the table. "We're talking about galactic-scale drug, trafficking using sentient beings as raw materials." Commander Voss's hologram nodded. "And their operation is extraordinarily efficient. They've perfected a methodology. Identify developing civilizations, infiltrate before they achieve interstellar capabilities, and establish control structures that the species doesn't even recognize as alien in origin." "How?" demanded General Kiriakou. Dr. Okafor displayed the data. "Mimetic engineering. They plant ideas, religions, social structures that weaken resistance. By the time they arrive in force, the civilization has already been conditioned for servitude." The A room fell silent as the implications sank in. "We have an advantage," Commander Voss continued. "They don't know we've detected them, and we've discovered something critical, a vulnerability in their neural network." The display shifted to show the intricate web of quantum entanglement connecting the Vespidae hive mind. Their consciousness is distributed. Individual Vespidae are merely extensions of the central intelligence, but this makes them vulnerable to targeted disruption. Dr. Lakshmi Patel, the Commonwealth's leading quantum physicist, studied the patterns with widening eyes. This is remarkable. Their neural network operates on principles similar to our experimental Q-Sync technology. Exactly, Voss confirmed. We believe we can develop a counter-frequency that would cause a cascading failure in their hive mind. Admiral Chandrasekhar nodded slowly. And our timeline? 11 weeks until their scout ships reach our outer colonies, replied Voss. We need to act before then. Colonel Ishikawa's expression darkened. So we're not just fighting for our survival. We're potentially liberating thousands of enslaved species. If we succeed, corrected Dr. Okafor. The Vespidae have been doing this for millennia. They've never failed. Commander Voss's hologram straightened. Then humanity will be their first failure, the Commonwealth research vessel. Prometheus hovered at the edge of an asteroid field, its experimental cloaking technology concealing it from Vespidae sensors. Inside its heavily shielded laboratory, Dr. Patel and her team worked feverishly on the quantum disruptor. The challenge is targeting their specific neural frequency without harming the enslaved species, she explained to Commander Voss. Each test brings us closer, but we're running out of time. Lieutenant Neron Ellis, the ship's communications specialist, burst into the lab. Commander, the Vespidae Vanguard has accelerated. They'll reach Proxima Centauri in 3 days. How? That's weeks ahead of schedule. Unknown, but their formation suggests a standard harvesting configuration. Voss's face hardened. They're starting with our outlying colonies. Notify Admiral Chandrasekhar. We need more time. Across the room, Dr. Patel suddenly froze, her eyes widening. Wait, that's it. Time! Their neural network exists partially outside normal space-time. That's how they maintain instantaneous communication across light years. What are you saying? We've been trying to disrupt their network in 3-dimensional space, but it exists in 5 dimensions. If we realign our approach to target the temporal dimension of their communication, she trailed off, fingers flying across her interface. Lieutenant Ellis looked between them. Can someone explain? Commander Voss smiled grimly. She's saying we can send our disruption signal backward through their own network. Hit them before they even know we exist. Precisely, confirmed Dr. Patel. But we'll need tremendous power and a direct connection to their network. Voss tapped her communicator. Navigation, set course for the nearest Vespidae outpost. Tactical, prepare stealth insertion protocols. She turned to Dr. Patel. How long to reconfigure the disruptor? 48 hours, the scientist replied. If everything goes perfectly. You have 36, Voss said. Lieutenant Ellis, I need volunteers for a high-risk insertion team. The young officer straightened. No need for volunteers, Commander. I've been training for this since we discovered the Vespidae. As the ship changed course, Dr. Patel returned to her calculations. A notification flashed on her screen, a message, from Earth's quantum computing hub. It contained the final piece of the algorithm she needed, sent by an unexpected source, an AI system that had independently reached the same conclusions about the Vespidae threat. Fascinating, she murmured. Even our artificial intelligences recognize the existential threat these slavers represent. Commander Voss studied the tactical display showing the advancing Vespidae fleet. They've been the apex predators of the galaxy for too long. They've never faced a species that saw them coming. The insertion team moved silently through the Vespidae outpost, their specialized suits bending light around them. Lieutenant Ellis led the way, followed by Commander Voss and 2 Commonwealth Special Forces operatives codenamed Talon and Wraith. Central. Node should be ahead, Ellis whispered over the secure channel. 200 meters. The architecture of the station was disorienting. Corridors seemed to shift and angles defied Euclidean geometry. Everywhere, enslaved beings shuffled through their tasks, the neural collars pulsing in rhythmic patterns. Voss recognized species from the Harbinger's database, the crystalline Merovingians, the four-armed Caldari, even the aquatic Luminae kept, in specialized environment suits. All moved with the same hollow expressions, their wills subsumed by Vespidae control. "Movement ahead," warned Talon. 3 Vespidae controllers. The team pressed against the wall as the tall insectoid beings glided past. Up close, their anatomy was even more disturbing, translucent exoskeletons revealing pulsing organs and a network of luminescent neural tissue. Once clear, they proceeded to a massive chamber dominated by a crystalline structure that thrummed with energy. Tendrils of light extended from its core, connecting to terminals throughout the station. "That's it," whispered Dr. Patel through their comms. "The local node of their neural network. Place the disruptor at its base." Ellis moved forward with the device. A deceptively small sphere containing the most advanced quantum technology humanity had ever developed. Just as she reached the node, an alarm shattered the silence. "We've been detected," hissed Wraith. "Commander." Voss drew her weapon. "Ellis, finish the installation. We'll buy you time." The first wave of Vespidae security drones swarmed into the chamber, hovering spheres bristling with neural disruptors designed to incapacitate without killing. Valuable property shouldn't be damaged after all. Talon fired first, his specialized electromagnetic pulse weapon shorting out 3 drones instantly. Voss and Wraith spread out, creating a defensive perimeter around Ellis. 90 seconds to installation, Ellis reported calmly, her fingers dancing across the disruptor's interface. A high-pitched whine filled the air as more drones appeared, followed by Vespidae controllers. One raised a staff-like weapon, discharging energy that narrowly missed Voss. 60 seconds, Ellis called. Wraith went down, his suit overloaded by a direct hit. Talon moved to cover him, but took a glancing blow that sent him sprawling. Voss stood alone, firing methodically as she backed toward Ellis. "Status?" "Almost there." Ellis's voice was strained. 30 seconds to initialization. A new figure entered the chamber. Taller than the others, its carapace adorned with intricate patterns. A Vespidae elder. It raised a clawed appendage, and the attack suddenly ceased. "You resist." "Interesting," it spoke directly into their minds. "Futile, but interesting. Your species will make exceptional resources." "We are not resources," Voss replied, keeping her weapon trained on the elder. "And neither are they." She gestured to the enslaved beings. "All lesser beings serve the collective," the elder responded. "As you soon will." Ellis's voice cut through the tension. "Done! Disruptor active!" The crystalline node began to pulse erratically, its light shifting from blue to crimson. The Vespidae elder chittered in alarm, its mental voice becoming fragmented. "What have you? Interference in the impossible?" Commander Voss smiled grimly. "Not impossible, inevitable." The disruptor activated fully, sending quantum signals cascading through the Vespidae neural network. The effect was immediate and devastating. Throughout the station, controllers collapsed, their distributed consciousness shattered by the carefully calibrated disruption. But the elder remained standing, though visibly weakened. "You cannot sever all connections. The collective spans galaxies." "We don't need to sever all connections," Voss replied. "Just enough to free their slaves." Throughout the chamber, the enslaved beings began to stir. One by one, their neural collars deactivated as the controlling signals failed. Confusion gave way to dawning comprehension, and then to rage. A Kaldari warrior was the first to act, tearing off his collar completely and charging at the weakened elder. Others followed, millennia of suppressed fury unleashed in an instant. "Ellis, get Talon, and Wraith back to the ship," ordered Voss. "Our work here is done." As they retreated, the disruptor continued its work, the quantum signal traveling faster than light through the Vespiday's own network, striking simultaneously at nodes across thousands of systems. Aboard the Prometheus, Dr. Patel monitored the cascading effect with awe. "It's working beyond our projections. The signal is propagating through their entire network." Admiral Chandrasekhar's voice came through the comms. "Multiple Vespidae vessels are going dark across all sectors. Reports coming in from Commonwealth outposts confirm their fleets are in disarray." Commander Voss and her team made it back to their shuttle just as the station began to shake from internal explosions. Not from the disruptor, but from the liberated slaves destroying their former prison. 3 days later, in Earth orbit, the EA leaders of the Commonwealth gathered alongside representatives from 17 formerly enslaved species. The Merovingian ambassador, his crystalline form shimmering in the light, addressed the assembly. "For 12,000 years, my people served as living processors in the Vespidae computational arrays. We had forgotten our own history, our identity. Humanity did not merely free us. You restored our selfhood." Admiral Chandrasekhar nodded solemnly. The Vespidae believed their system was perfect. They never imagined their prey could recognize the cage before it closed. Their fundamental error, Commander Voss added, was assuming all species share their hive mentality. They couldn't conceive of beings who value individual freedom enough to die for it or fight for others to have it. The Kaldari representative, his forearms bearing the scars of neural collars, stepped forward. "The Vespidae are not destroyed, merely scattered. Without their collective consciousness, they are diminished. But they will adapt. They will return. And when they do," Voss replied, "they'll find not just humanity waiting for them, but a coalition of free species who know exactly what they are." The assembly chamber fell silent as the enormity of the transformation settled over them. In less than a week, the galaxy's oldest power structure had crumbled, and countless beings had awakened to freedom. Dr. Okafor, who had studied the Vespidae since first contact, summarized it best in her address to the coalition. "The Vespidae failed. To understand a fundamental truth about sentient life, that consciousness inherently seeks freedom. By building their empire on the suppression of that truth, they guaranteed their own downfall. As the formerly enslaved species began the long process of reclaiming their histories and rebuilding their civilizations, humanity found itself in an unexpected role, not conquerors or saviors, but catalysts for a galactic renaissance based on mutual respect and self-determination. The stars, once hunting grounds for ancient predators, now held the promise of a very different future.